The bells are not supposed to ring yet. She knows this because she checked the sun before entering the Duke's chambers, measuring the hour the way she always does, by the angle of the light against stone. There had been time enough for the errand. Enough for courtesy. Enough to leave without drawing notice. Now, as the first low note carries through the keep, she still stands inside. The sound rolls through the corridors slowly, heavy and deliberate. Not the sharp toll of alarm. Not the brisk call of morning. Evening. She tightens her grip on the folded parchment in her hand and does not turn around. Just a minute, the Duke says. The words are not sharp. They are not even loud. They are spoken as if to himself, attention still fixed on the document spread across his desk. That is what unsettles her. If he had looked up, if he had said her name, or commanded her to wait, it would have been simpler. Easier to refuse. Easier to remind him of the hour, to step away while she still could. Instead, he speaks as though the world will pause because he expects it to. She remains still. The chamber is quiet save for the fire, which is burned down to a low, steady glow. Candles line the walls, their flames unmoving in the still air. The tall windows show the sky darkening, blue bleeding into indigo. She should go. That has been clear since the moment she arrived. She had come with a single purpose: deliver the final report from the outer estates. She had prepared the wording carefully, anticipating questions, marking points of concern. She had expected him to glance over it, nod once, dismiss her. Instead, he had taken the parchment and begun reading with full attention. That was nearly half an hour ago. "My lord," she says carefully, breaking the silence. "The gates will close soon." "Yes," he replies. He does not look up. She waits, expecting more. A dismissal, an acknowledgement, anything that would free her from the moment. Nothing comes. She shifts her weight subtly, the movement restrained, the rustle of her skirts barely audible. "The watch will change," she adds. "Yes." Still nothing. She inhales slowly, steadies herself. "If there is nothing further," she says, "I should return before." Just a minute. This time, he does look up. The moment their eyes meet, something in the room tightens. He does not smile. He does not soften his expression. He simply regards her with focused attention, as if seeing her fully for the first time that evening. She realizes, suddenly, that she has been standing there waiting. Not commanded. Not dismissed. Waiting. She lowers her gaze first, because that is what propriety demands. "Yes, my lord." He returns his attention to the parchment, reading the final lines with care. The bells ring again, closer now, the sound echoing through the stone like a warning that time is slipping. She watches the shadows stretch along the floor. "You've worked late," he says without looking up. "It was necessary. You came straight from the south wing." "Yes." "And before that?" She hesitates. "The outer court." "And before that?" She does not answer immediately. "You've been on your feet since dawn," he says. It is not a question. She lifts her chin slightly. "That is not unusual." "No," he agrees. "But it should be noticed." The words land unexpectedly. She looks at him again, searching his face for anything that would suggest this is an idle observation. There is none. His expression is thoughtful, intent. "I don't require comment on my endurance," she says evenly. "No," he replies. "But you deserve acknowledgement." The bell tolls again. Final. The sound reverberates through the chamber, unmistakable. She stiffens. "The gates are closing," she says. "Yes." "If I leave now, I may still pass." "Yes." He sets the parchment down carefully, smoothing the edge as though buying himself time. "You should go," he says. She waits. He does not rise. He does not gesture toward the door. "You haven't dismissed me," she says quietly. "No." "And you haven't asked me to stay." "No." The honesty of it settles between them. "I said just a minute," he replies. "That minute has passed." "Yes." "And yet," she says, meeting his gaze again, "you're still holding me here." He studies her for a long moment, as if weighing his next words. "Only because you're still standing," he says at last. The fire pops softly, sending a brief spark upward. "That's not how this works," she says. "No," he agrees. "It isn't. And yet here we are." "Yes." The bells finish their call. Silence follows. They both know what that means. "You're locked in now," he says quietly. "Yes." The words are not spoken with alarm, nor with satisfaction. They are simply acknowledged. "I can have quarters prepared," he continues. "Guest rooms." "I know. And an escort, if you wish." Yes. She watches him closely. The way his posture has changed. Less distracted now. Attention fully present. You didn't notice the hour, she says. No. And that is rare for you. Yes. She lets the moment breathe. You were occupied, she says. Yes. With the report? With you still standing there. The words are spoken calmly, without drama. They land like a weight. That's inappropriate, she says. Yes. And you're aware of that. Yes. And you said it anyway. Yes. The honesty is unsettling in its restraint. She folds her hands loosely in front of her, grounding herself. I don't want this to become something careless, she says. No. And I don't want it to become something we explain away because it was late. No. And I don't want to wake tomorrow wondering why I stayed. He rises slowly from behind the desk. Not toward her. Just enough to signal that the conversation has shifted. Then let's be clear, he says. She nods once. Yes. I didn't ask you to stay, he continues. And I won't ask you now. And yet you didn't let me go. No. Why? He considers the question carefully. Because I noticed you, he says. Before the hour. Before the bells. And I didn't want to pretend that didn't matter. Her breath catches, just slightly. That's dangerous, she says. Yes. And unfair. Yes. And still you're standing there. Yes. The firelight flickers across his face, softening the sharp lines without diminishing the authority there. You could sit, he says. I would prefer not to. Because if you sit, he replies, you'll stay. She hesitates, then lets out a slow breath. That's an assumption. It's an observation. She remains standing. You're tired, he says. I'm capable. I know. And you're still here. Yes. The moment stretches, quiet and charged. Outside, the keep settles into night. Inside, the chamber holds them both. She was meant to leave before dark. He asked for just a minute. And now the bells have marked nightfall while she still stands beside him, aware, steady, and fully conscious that this moment is no longer accidental. It is a choice. The bells have finished their call. That is what makes the silence afterward feel heavier. Not empty, settled. As though the keep itself has accepted the change and moved on without waiting for them to decide what it means. She is still standing. So is he. The Duke does not move closer, but he does not retreat either. He stands beside the desk now rather than behind it, posture relaxed but attentive, as if the furniture that once separated them no longer applies. You're still here, he says. Yes. And you're not asking to leave. No. And I'm not dismissing you. No. The pattern holds. Each exchange reinforcing the truth rather than circling it. You should be uneasy, he says quietly. I am aware, she replies. But not afraid. No. He studies her with renewed focus. Why? She considers the question before answering. Because you haven't crossed the line. And if I did, I would leave. The certainty in her voice steadies something in him she hadn't known was unsettled. And you believe I would let you? Yes. He nods once. You're right. The fire shifts, a soft crackle marking the passage of time. She becomes acutely aware of how long she has been on her feet, of the subtle ache in her calves, the tension in her shoulders. She shifts her weight without meaning to. He notices immediately. You should sit, he says again. I know. And you still won't. No. He watches her a moment longer, then speaks. Come closer, he says, not as a command, but an invitation. She hesitates. Not because of fear, but because the choice is clear now. This is not about circumstance or missed hours. This is about intent. She takes 2 measured steps forward. Not close enough to touch. Close enough to feel the warmth of the hearth more keenly, to register the faint scent of ink and smoke that clings to him. He does not move to meet her. That's enough, he says. She stops. The restraint settles between them like something earned. You're careful, she observes. Yes. And you want me to notice that? Yes. She exhales slowly. I do. He inclines his head slightly, acknowledgement rather than triumph. You've been carrying this keep on your back today, he says. Messages, reports, decisions. That's my role. And you carry it quietly. She shrugs lightly. It needs to be done. Yes, he agrees. But not invisibly. The words land close to something she has never named. You noticed, she says. Yes. And that's why you said just a minute. Yes. Not to keep her. To acknowledge her. That matters, she says. Yes. The fire burns lower, casting long shadows along the stone floor. Candlelight flickers against the walls, steady but warm. "You'll stay the night," he says. "In the West Wing." "Yes." "And you'll be escorted." "Yes." "And this won't become something hidden." "No." "And it won't become something explained away." "No." The agreement forms cleanly, deliberate, and mutual. "You haven't eaten," he adds. "I wasn't hungry. You are now." She almost smiles. "I'll have something brought," he says. "You don't need to return to the hall." "That's not necessary." "It's not obligation," he replies. "It's care." She considers, then nods. "All right." He turns briefly to the door, giving quiet instructions to a servant. When he returns, the moment has not shifted. If anything, it feels more grounded. "You don't hover," she says. "No." "And you don't withdraw." "No." "I trust you," he says. The word lands without weight or demand. Simply stated. She meets his gaze. That goes both ways. When the tray arrives, he sets it on the small table near the hearth and steps back again, leaving the choice entirely hers. She eats slowly, savoring the warmth of the food, the grounding normalcy of the act. He does not watch her eat. He remains nearby, attention present but not pressing. "This will be noticed," she says after a moment. "Yes." "And there will be assumptions." "Yes." "And you won't correct them unless they're wrong." "No." She nods. "Good." The candles burn lower. Time continues to move, but without urgency now. "You should rest," he says. "Yes." "And the rooms are ready." "Yes." She rises slowly, steadier now. He steps back immediately, restoring space without being asked. "I'll have someone escort you," he says. "Yes." She moves toward the door, then pauses. "You said just a minute," she says quietly. "Yes." "And I stayed." "Yes." "And you didn't turn that into something I couldn't step away from." "No." The acknowledgement lingers. "Good," she says. She opens the door and steps into the corridor. The cooler air brushes her face, grounding her again. The escort waits, respectful and silent. As she walks toward the West Wing, one truth settles clearly. Staying was not the risk. Pretending it didn't matter would have been. Morning arrives without ceremony. Light slips through the narrow window of the West Wing chamber in pale bands, softening the stone and warming the edge of the wooden table beside the bed. She wakes before the bells, not startled, not restless, simply aware. For a moment, she lies still, listening. The keep stirs gently around her. A door opens somewhere below. Footsteps pass along the corridor, measured and familiar. The sound of water being drawn echoes faintly through stone. Nothing feels altered, and yet everything has shifted. She sits up and draws a steady breath, testing it without thinking. The air fills her lungs easily. That, too, feels new, not because it has changed, but because she has noticed it. She dresses slowly, deliberately. The gown she chooses belongs to daylight. Clean lines, muted color, practical elegance. When she reaches for the corset, she pauses. Not long, just enough to lace it carefully, stopping before it tightens too far. She checks her breath again, then nods to herself. Choice, not habit. When she steps into the corridor, the guard inclines his head without curiosity. She passes without comment, neither hurried nor detained. The keep accepts her presence as it always has. She does not go straight to the council chamber. Instead, she walks the outer gallery overlooking the courtyard, where morning light spills across stone and the air carries the scent of dew and early movement. Below, servants cross the yard, purposeful and unremarkable. Life continues. She rests her hands lightly on the balustrade and allows herself a moment of stillness. Last night did not feel like a mistake, nor does this morning feel like consequence. It feels like clarity. By the time she enters the council chamber, the room is already filling. Advisors take their places. Clerks arrange papers. The quiet hum of readiness settles into something familiar. She takes her seat without ceremony. The Duke arrives moments later. He does not look at her immediately. That restraint matters. He acknowledges the room, takes his place at the head of the table, opens the ledger before him. Only then does his gaze lift, brief, composed, without emphasis. The meeting proceeds with efficiency. Matters are raised, debated, resolved. She speaks when needed, her voice steady, her reasoning precise. He listens without interruption, defers when appropriate, challenges when necessary. Nothing is hidden, nothing is displayed. What changes is subtle but unmistakable. The way her words are weighed before decisions are made. The way his attention sharpens when she speaks. The room adjusts around it without comment. By the time the final matter concludes, the dynamic has settled. When the council disperses, she remains seated. So does he. The doors close softly behind the last of the advisors, leaving the chamber filled with daylight and quiet. You slept, he says. Yes. And you're rested. Yes. He inclines his head once. Good. She rises and moves closer, not into his space, but near enough that the conversation shifts from formal to direct. You didn't dismiss me last night, she says. No. And you didn't ask me to stay. No. And you didn't pretend it didn't matter. No. He meets her gaze fully now, the daylight stripping the moment of any illusion. I don't intend to, he says. Neither do I. The agreement forms cleanly between them. There will be questions, she says. Not spoken openly, but noticed. Yes. And assumptions. Yes. And you won't correct them unless they're wrong. No. She nods. Good. He studies her for a moment, then speaks carefully. You stayed because you chose to, he says. Yes. And you're here now for the same reason. Yes. And if you had chosen otherwise, you would have accepted it, she finishes. Yes. The consistency steadies something in her chest that she hadn't realized was still tight. Later that morning, they walk through the inner courtyard together, not alone, not conspicuous. Their pace is unhurried, their proximity deliberate but not possessive. When others approach, they do not step apart. When conversation arises, it flows naturally. The keep does not whisper. It observes. By midday, the rhythm has settled. She returns briefly to the west wing to collect her things. The guest chamber looks different in daylight, less like a pause, more like a marker. She does not linger. Instead, she walks familiar corridors toward the Duke's study. The door stands open. Sunlight fills the room, illuminating the desk where she had stood the evening before, cloak half on, fingers hovering near the door. She steps inside. He looks up immediately this time. You didn't leave, he observes. No. And you returned. Yes. The distinction matters. She stops a few steps inside the room, standing where she had stood the night before. This is where I should have gone, she says quietly. Yes. And you didn't stop me. No. And I didn't go. No. They share a look that acknowledges responsibility on both sides. I don't want this to become something explained away, she says, or diminished by circumstance. It won't. And I don't want to be someone you accommodate. You won't be. And I won't accommodate you. A pause. Good, he says, with quiet approval. The balance holds. That evening, the bells ring clearly as the sun lowers once more. She stands in the courtyard, watching the light fade, not waiting to leave, not waiting to stay, simply present. He joins her without announcement, standing beside her at a respectful distance. You were supposed to leave before nightfall, he says softly. Yes. And I said just a minute. Yes. And you stayed until the bells marked night. Yes. She turns to face him. That matters, she says. Yes, he agrees. But not because of what it caused, she continues. Because of what it revealed. He meets her gaze, which is, that attention given without demand is rare, she says. And restraint without expectation is rarer still. Yes. She holds his gaze a moment longer, then nods once. We proceed, she says, without haste. Yes. And without illusion. Yes. And with the understanding that choice remains. Yes. The bells finish their call, the hour clearly marked and acknowledged by both of them this time. She turns away first, not because she must, but because she chooses to. And he lets her go. That is what confirms it. Because she was meant to leave before dark. He asked for just a minute. The bells marked nightfall while she still stood beside him. And instead of turning that moment into secrecy, confusion, or regret, they turned it into intention, which is the only ending worth keeping.